I'm still hearing music. All right, so hopefully we don't have an echo going on here, but I am John Ryan of sportsmemo.com and gambling.com, and this is gambling.com's version of the NHL Power Play Show. And I'm going to just change one of these settings real quick because I am hearing an echo. I'm not really sure why, but let's see if that fixed it. I think that fixed it.
It might work.
Okay, so we are
It work.
still, and thank you for the patience here. It's our inaugural show. So, but we're still hearing an echo. We'll just do it on the fly here. Chris, hit settings and then
Mm-hmm.
make sure on your audio tab there that echo cancellation um, not checked. Stereo audio is checked automatically. Just mic volume is checked.
Mm-hmm. So just yank out the echo cancellation.
Yeah, echo cancellation should not be checked.
All right, let's see what happens. Okay.
Yep. And stereo audio should be checked automatically. Just mic volume should be checked.
Yeah.
All right, I think that did it.
Yeah. Sometimes it just has to be.
No, it didn't either.
No.
Are you hearing an echo?
None.
Okay, I'll just deal with it. So anyway, that's our introduction.
Hey, people, you have to expect these things. It's like the unexpected when you think like a goaltender is going to come back and play, and then a coach says, no, no, he's not. He's back. He's back. No, he's not. No, he's not. And just ask Pittsburgh
Yep.
what they're going through tonight for game one, and I'm sure it's not going to be a lot of fun for them or for any bettor out there who thought about backing Pittsburgh in game one. Or the Rangers puck line for that matter, because nobody knows. Nobody knows. For them or for any bettor out there who thought about backing Pittsburgh in game one. Or the Rangers puck
Yeah,
line for
this
that matter.
this is.
Nobody knows.
I'm just gonna remove myself and quick come back in.
Now, the fun part in all of this is going to be priceless. Now, don't mind John; he's coming back in.
There. Maybe that did it.
Sometimes all it takes is a reboot.
It's true. All right. We may have that might have done it.
Sorry, everybody. These things happen. It's alive, not Memorex.
I didn't do it.
Jeez.
Yep, and you should be able to. I'll leave the studio once I turn a game over to you, so we'll get right to it here. First game on the board for the Tuesday night NHL card is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are going up against the New York Rangers, and the Rangers are a very exciting team this year. And I am certainly not a connoisseur of the NHL. If of all the sports, Chris, you know me best. Yeah, I'm on one hell of a run in the NBA at 19-6 and 68% over the last 72 NBA best bets. But hockey is purely objective analytics. I will admit I have no intuition like you have, and it is what it is. But in this matchup, the records are excellent for both teams. I think the Rangers obviously outperformed in terms of our goalies. Casey Desmith of Pittsburgh looks like he has to start tonight, and then Igor is going to go for the Rangers. And this game isn't at Madison Square Garden, and the lines there are on the graph at -127 and over under a 5.5. First question I have for you, Chris, while I go and reboot, is explain to everybody, because this I think is an important thing for the playoffs. It's like a pitching rotation in baseball. You have 5, 6 starters on some teams in baseball. you have two or three goalies, and usually, I guess, in the playoffs, they usually run with two goalies who alternate games, or maybe if there's enough rest between games, the same goalie will go again, which is different than pitching. But take a minute while I reboot here to try to get rid of this echo, and I'll be back shortly. But take a couple minutes to explain that to, especially for new bettors. That would be really important for them to know.
Okay, everybody, this is a very simple process. Now, for the most part, the playoffs, you usually see one goalie, and that is it. Barring injury, something crazy, a goaltender gets pulled, or makes some kind of boneheaded decision, you usually do see one goalie, for the most part, play throughout the series. Now, the trend lately, because look, it's an 82-game schedule this year. It's been tough on goaltenders. Injuries have happened. You're seeing two goaltenders, especially in the case of tonight's Pittsburgh Rangers game. Casey DeSmith, there was some thought that he may not start. It turns out he is going to start because Tristan Jarry is not 100%, and the Penguins do not want to take a risk right now early in the series. And this is where it helps to have a competent backup goaltender. And for better or for worse, Casey DeSmith, after a few early jitters in the season, has played better of late, despite the struggles of the Pittsburgh defense. And you'll need this on the road in a tough, hostile environment known as Gotham, or Madison Square Garden, to play the Rangers tonight. Again, is going to be the guy in New York throughout. And when you have that alpha goaltender, you have to ride the alpha goaltender. And there's a reason why Shesterkin is the runaway winner for the Vezina Trophy, and arguably easily a top 5 Hart Trophy choice, is because what he means to the New York Rangers. And what he means on home ice in particular, where he easily can surpass a .940 or .950 save percentage and be the stonewall that is the New York Rangers. Now, as this series goes along, keep in mind the following concept. Tristan Jarry will eventually play, whether it's games 2 or 3. And that rotation or transition will be essential to Pittsburgh's ultimate playoff success.
Well, I'm back.
I see that, John.
Not necessarily mean that the echo is gone, but it seems to maybe have been gone. Anyway, brand new Apple MacBook Pro with all the technology in the world, and a reboot still solves everything. So sorry about that, everybody, and you too, Chris. So you went through the goalie lineups and how they determine that and how that affects the betting markets. And in this matchup, who do you think wins the series and advances?
Well, based on this, you have to take the New York Rangers. Now here's why. The numbers in the beginning about Saturday night. This series was dead even. That shouldn't happen, but it did. Game 1, as a matter of fact, was pretty close to even. It has trended now to the Rangers' direction. As you'll see in the graphic, it's minus 127 currently. And that might shorten a little bit more, but it might lengthen too. So keep that in mind today. If you got in on it early, congratulations. Win or lose, you made a wise wager. It's not always going to work out, but if you see in the 4 series last night, there were a lot of predictable results. And there was a lot of unpredictable ones as well. But the key was, if you went with like a Toronto, or you went with a St. Louis, you were in the clear last night. And it was that simple.
I was on Carolina last night.
And that was the other one.
All access clients. And I was surprised by the final score. But that was not indicative of how the first period went. In basketball, you lose the puck in your own end when you're supposed to be getting it out. good things never happen in that situation for the team that doesn't get it out of their zone.
But that game turned quick.
Do you have any lean on the Rangers for tonight?
I think you have to consider them. You absolutely have to consider them at this point.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to the second game, which I have as the Nashville Predators going up against the Colorado Avalanche. Darcy Kemper is in goals against average 2.54. He's 37, 12, and 4. Remarkable record. Saros is in net for the Predators.
He's out.
38, 25, 3 goals against average 2.64. Over-under in this game is a whopping 6.5. And the money line has Colorado as a minus 316 at BetMGM right now, which there's been more minus 300s and 400s and 500s in hockey this year than any year I can remember. And if you're going to bet in hockey, you just stay away from the game. Or if you want to take a shot at the dog, that's what you do. But you don't lay 300 even on the Avalanche, in my humble opinion, because if they somehow lose this game against a playoff team called the Predators, you got to win like 4 in a row just to show a profit, and that's very hard to do, even harder in the moneyline sports of Major League Baseball and the NHL. But take it away, Chris, and tell us who you think a best bet potential would be in this matchup tonight.
Okay, there's different avenues to take. For one, take a look at the regulation or 60-minute wager, which is scaled back by a good 30% compared to that whopping minus 300 plus that you're going to see on every book. That's one. Two, UC Saros out with what is believed to be a high ankle sprain or a lower body injury. NHL coaches are very mum this time of year. Do not expect them to reveal an injury. Ever. So in his place will be David Rittich, who played pretty well the last couple games of the regular season, but again, gave up goals. And Colorado, even though they score more than 4 goals a game at home, they also give up almost 3. So if you do really bad math, 4 plus 3 is about 7. The over-under is rightfully set at 6.5. And the only way Nashville is going to win this game is by playing forward at all costs. So that means they're going to give up a lot of chances, and they're going to try and generate a lot of chances. So your arguably safest bet in a so far NHL playoffs that has featured lower scoring is to go against the streams and take that over. At the very least, look at that Nashville 2.5 goal over as a possible contrarian play here. And go with that, because that trend has been hitting increasingly the last few years, even with the playoff bubble.
Yeah, one of my favorite strategies, Chris, in baseball, and it applies to hockey, is if you have a team like the LA Dodgers, and say they're minus 300 with Kershaw on the hill, and you like the Dodgers, you don't have to bet. Nobody's forcing you to bet the game pre-flop, as I call it. Mm-hmm. But what I like to do is I hope that the opponent, the big underdog, is going to score first. I will then go in-game and bet the Dodgers, in that example, at a much, much cheaper price. And more times than not, the favorite will come back and ultimately win the game. Does that tendency happen in the NHL? And more importantly, would it happen possibly in this matchup where Nashville gets off to a 1-0 lead first period, and then you bet the favorite at a substantially lower price, probably around, it could be right around minus 200 at that point, which is still big, but it's a lot better than 316.
Oh, absolutely, because what we saw with Nashville and even Colorado the past maybe 7 to 10 games, they had one common opponent. That was the Arizona Coyotes. Nashville blew a huge lead. Colorado's blown a couple bigger leads leading into the playoffs. So that lends into the theory 100% that you can bet this live and have many, many better options than you would sometimes if you just bet the static, or as I like to call it, before the game.
Yeah. I kind of, just for initial thoughts here, I'm leaning Nashville here with the puck line, I think, because you're still getting plus money, and Nashville is actually 20-9 using the plus 1.5 puck line this season when playing against a goalie that has a save percentage above 91% on the season. And that situation fits here, and that's a pretty darn good track record in my opinion. So I think I'm initially going to lean here Nashville. Because I can't bet a minus 300 favorite ever.
No, don't do it.
Nope. Just it's better to say, boy, they won 7-1. That would have been an easy win, as opposed to, my God, they just lost in overtime, and now I'm down $316 on a $100 bet. That's what you want to avoid.
Yeah, that negative multiple units on a first bet is usually a devastating hit that most bettors do not recover from.
Yeah, and for those just starting out in betting, there's nothing more important than you can never look at a big favorite, even in the NFL, and minus 10-point favorite, bet the money line thinking that they're never going to lose that game. Well, it happens a lot, and it happens a lot in hockey. So don't assume anything that a big favorite is automatically going to win. They still have to play the game.
Yeah, remember, there's only a few big favorites, at least early on. So that's something to be kept in mind. And ironically, 3 of them are tonight. I mean, it's kind of a little bit different for bettors out there. We saw last night a lot of odds where it was like pretty close to even, and tonight you only have one of those, and that's the Rangers Penguins game.
Yep. Good stuff. Let's move over to the third of the 4 games tonight. This one's at the FLA Live Arena, 7:30 p.m. is the expected time for the puck drop. And we have the Florida Panthers from the Atlantic Division hosting the Washington Capitals out of the Metropolitan Division. Now, if I'm saying this name right, Ilya Samsonov is in net for the Capitals. I have such trouble, and I've been following hockey for years with these names. So with all due respect, I'm doing my best. Sergei Bobrovsky is in net for the Panthers. Both are outstanding goalies. Both are outstanding teams. One is a lot better, in my opinion, than the other, with the Florida Panthers having that edge. Take it away, Chris, and tell us where you think a best bet could lie in this matchup.
Okay, this is fun. Get ready for chaos. Now, of course, the big question is, how is Alex Ovechkin? Right now, if you ask me 9 hours before puck drop, I have no clue how he's going to play other than he is going to play. And if he doesn't, I will be very surprised. There's a reason why he's called the Russian clock never breaks, because he just doesn't. And that's what made what happened 2 weeks ago so shocking, and then last week even more so. He showed pain. And I know we joke about that, but it's very important to note how he comes out early. And this may be another case where you look at the live bet a little bit, especially if Washington ekes out a goal somewhere early. Because, look, this expects to be a bit of a chaotic series as well. Florida's going to give up some goals. They're going to score some goals. They are a lot like Colorado in the West. Another thing to consider is Aaron Ekblad should be making his return. And he is an extremely important offensive defenseman for the Florida Panthers, and how he plays. So there are a lot of moving parts here. Again, I'm not looking at that money line so much because, again, this is more than 200. I'm looking more towards, hey, is that traditional over going to hit? Because that is something that has trended heavily in Florida's favor, especially at home. I can sit there and try and flop both team overs over the top for tonight's game, because we don't really know what you're going to get as far as goaltending. We do know what you're going to get in terms of offense, and Washington's record on the road, John, is something to keep an eye on. They were the league's best this season, and after January 1st, by far and away, one of the better point percentages in the last 10 years in the NHL.
I just ran a little query here while you were talking. Favorites, home favorites on the money line, minus 200 or greater. 200 to 250 to minus 300, et cetera, et cetera. Since 2017 in the playoffs, there's been 14 such occurrences. The straight-up record is only 8-6.
Yeah, it's not
on those home
it's
favorites.
Close to 500.
2 games over 500. The $100 bettor lost $620 with a winning record, folks. That's the warning sign we're trying to provide to you today. Education, right? So you don't assume that a minus 200 favorite's they're gonna beat them. Well, obviously the data just tells us right here that they're not. That's a minus 18.56% ROI on those $1,400 worth of bets per $100 per wager. And even on the puck line, as I'm looking at it here, if you play against those teams, you have a positive ROI of 26%. And over-under there's not much there. It's 5, 6, and 11. Is there a score in the first period? I like that. That's a new betting option in hockey. And I absolutely love it.
I love the it's like the Nerfy for baseball, but in reverse. And
Yep. So
I joke there may be a goal by both.
Let's see, 9-5, no score. That's 65% that there is no score in the first period. And these favorites also, this is all playoff stuff for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Third period, over-unders, 10-4 to the over. That's 71.4%. And third period with a favorite in it, like this game right here applies. So, it's pizza money bets. You don't bet your normal bet size on something like that. And pizza money is exactly what it is. If you've never heard me say it, it's $15.
Yep.
Or less, maybe 20, depending if you live on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx.
White Castle bets.
Right, there you go.
I've joked with this with people. I'll say this again. This one series in particular, because you have the goalies the way you do, you may I won't even call this contrarian, John. You may look at that first period and flip and go with teams are going to score. Unlike the other series, New York, Pittsburgh, even maybe be hesitant, but Boston, Carolina was obvious. Toronto, Tampa Bay was an obvious that it was going to be a slow start. This is different. These are two teams that want to get out. I mean, look, Jonathan Huberdeau is a 120-point-plus player this year. Let this set in. The Florida top 9 alone is one of the most balanced in the last 10 years in hockey.
That's amazing.
And they're going up against a Washington defense that has played much better in the second half, but it is still the Washington Capitals defense. They are vulnerable in net down the middle. I've said this from, I don't know, my days where I had less gray hair.
Here's a good one for you. It's a little betting system I just pulled up here that supports Washington, the underdog. And it's averaged a 135 underdog play, and it's posted a winning record, hitting 68% winners, 23-11. It's a very rare one that's over the last 15 seasons, regular season and playoffs. Road underdogs a plus 100 to 200 max. Off a road loss against a division rival, taking on an opponent after an embarrassing blowout loss of 4 or more goals to a division rival. That all adds up to that record I just gave you. So 23 and 11. Think about it. If you do that in the NFL and the minus 110 vig, you're looking at maybe a profit of around $700. With this one, the $100 bettor has made $2,050. And that is the power of identifying dogs in baseball and NHL and the money line sports that they are. And that's how you make money over the course of a season. You can hit 40% winners, guys and gals, in hockey and Major League Baseball. And if you do it with a disciplined approach, you can end up making a nice chunk of change. The win percentage means nothing. It's ROI, and that's the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So that's my little rant.
We ready for the big one, John?
The next game?
Yes.
Yeah, it is that's the final one of the night, too. So we have, let me just get my little slide up here. We have, I know it's the, all right, give me one more second.
Come on, graphics, do it.
Sloppy start to the day. So we have the Kings and Edmonton.
No.
Oh, no, that was last night. That was last night. Sorry, I got it. Boy, this is like the worst hosting show I've ever done. But it's all right. Dallas, the Stars against the Flames. This is at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome in Calgary, Canada. We have Jacob Markstrom in net and Jake Oettinger.
This was a tough one.
Right?
This was a tough one. Oettinger. Yeah, yeah, I know. I love the ones that don't sound like they're supposed to.
Yeah. Okay, well, at least I know that going forward. So we have that matchup. And money line here is a big favorite again with Calgary minus 221. So don't forget that third period over, which is 10-4 in the third period with a favorite of minus 200 or higher in the playoffs. So tell us where to put our money in this one, Chris.
Again, lean to the unexpected. Now, I have some fun theories with this one, and they involve the anytime goal scorer option. If you're looking through your player props, you get deep into the woods, so to speak. Don't look at the top obvious choices. I mean, yeah, they're nice. You can make some money with that. But there's what we call these playoff performers. We saw it last night with Brendan Lemieux. I mean, even though, yes, he's the son of Claude Lemieux, and, you should kind of expect something crazy like that. This is less crazy. Michael Backlund is one of those glue Calgary forwards that you almost have to have somewhere to make a bet. Now this year, a little bit of bad luck. Only 12 goals on the season. But for a second line center who doesn't always see the most power play time, 214 shots is a lot. And his career shooting percentage is north of 10 in the playoffs. And it's nowhere near that in the regular season. Those odds are good. I mean, that's a lot better than your near even anytime goal scorers like Gaudreau, Elias Lindholm, both who 40 goal scorers, even Matthew Tkachuk. Like I said, Backlund, you're going way down the food chain. And that's fine. This is where you take, again, that pizza or White Castle money, take a shot on it. This is the type of game where you take little shots as opposed to the big one. Do you look at, say, like Jacob Markstrom, maybe see what prop comes out for the over on saves? Dallas might want to show themselves a little better than they have over the last couple weeks. And especially considering how they backed into the playoffs. Has to be considered. Do they absolutely just fall all over themselves? Or does Dallas play like they did 2 years ago and make them just sort of this magical run deep into the playoffs? That is the unknown, and that is why you do not sit there with that minus 200 plus money line. Just stay away. It's all right. It's okay to admit that, hey, maybe I don't know something. And with these openers, John, And for bettors out there, there is a vast amount of unknown. And as we were told last night with the late game, do not get roped into that big money line favorite because you got nailed.
Yep, you sure did. With it seems like the Flames. There's a term in basketball, pace of play, right? It seems like the Flames may be a more methodical team than their counterpart tonight. The Flames have scored 291 goals, which is a lot, but there's several teams that have over 300, with Florida scoring 337. But then again, Calgary, 206 goals allowed, is one of the best in the NHL. I mentioned Florida scoring 337. They allowed 36 more goals than Calgary. How much of a factor is the goal differential in any of your handicap analysis in the playoffs?
It's considered, but the second season is a second season for a reason. And we've seen this from Calgary before a couple seasons ago, ironically against these very Dallas Stars. Now, this team is different. That team a couple years ago did not have Markstrom in that. And Markstrom is a great calming influence because unlike what Calgary had a couple of years ago, Markstrom can make that save or that extra save that Calgary just could not. Now, because of that, Calgary's offense has been helped all season by that ability to be able to shut down opponents. Markstrom led the league in shutouts with 9, including 5 in the road early, which got everybody just sort of on board with Calgary. I mean, and they had their period where they dropped, but then they came back. Everybody thought that at some point they were going to drop off and an Edmonton was going to come waltzing in and win the Pacific. That never happened. And that's the credit to Darryl Sutter, who, by the way, won 2 Stanley Cups playing a similarly methodical system in LA. Now, the difference with here is Calgary has more dynamic scorers. Like we mentioned, they have 2 40-goal scorers, and they have Matthew Tkachuk. Tkachuk is an annoying presence. Milan Lucic is an even more annoying presence to play in the playoffs. Dallas has some aging warriors, if you will, and there is something to keep an eye on for another anytime goal scorer tonight, and this is from the Road Stars. Joe Pavelski. Now, Pavelski is about what feels like a point-a-game performer in the playoffs, but he may, John, just be the best tip-and-drill forward I have ever seen in the NHL, not named Gretzky. Because Gretzky could do this in practice in his sleep, but that wasn't his job. His office was behind the net, but he could, you could see it. Pavelski has that same type of talent, and he has that knack, along with Jason Robertson of the Stars as well. And that's why I'm fearful, again, of that Calgary puck line. It's just, you just do not want to chance things if you do not have to. If it feels like you're forcing a bet early on in these playoffs, don't do it.
Yeah, it's always better not to do it, that's for sure. I do have a system that supports the favorite. So it's contrary to some of the other stuff we've talked about, but it's been outstanding. But still, your ROI is not all that great. There's a lot of risk in these favorite type of systems. This one has averaged minus 232. It's won 81% of the games. But because it loses 19% of the games laying that kind of wood, your ROI really is not good. For example, this season alone, the following system has gone 5-3. It's lost 2.1 units. So that means that if you're betting $100 per unit, you lost $210 and you went 5-3. So percentage-wise, you could say, "Wow, I'm hitting 63% winners, but I'm terrible losing, 33% ROI. So again, it's not win percentage. It's all about return on investment.
I have a great example of this just from night one. Okay, so we took a four-legged parlay. We took a shot on this. Now, I did two variations of it. And of course, the one that I played way less money on hit. And here was the difference in the leg. Team over, 6.5 goals, Toronto and Tampa Bay. Didn't hit, even though Toronto scored 5 goals. Oops. Now, that number doesn't sound like a lot, but here we go. Team over Toronto was 3.5 goals. Obviously, that hit. Now, the number on that was about a quarter on the Canadian dollar. Doesn't sound like a lot. Multiply that by a $25 wager. Suddenly, that becomes about $6 extra. That's a little more significant. If you put 100 on it, multiply that by 4 more. Suddenly, that little quarter turns into a decent amount of coin. And that's the key with betting early in the playoffs. You're not going to have expected results because a lot of bettors, myself included, will admit this with full transparency, are going to get fooled every so often because of the bump up in scoring this year and the perceived lack of defense in the league. In some games, it's going to pan out. And in some games, like we saw last night, it didn't. So just, I said this the last few years with the bubble, and I'll say this now. Ride the wave. Just don't get discouraged.
Yep. It's a grind. For the, I'm going to give out a show best bet, if I may, and then I'll turn it over to you and see if there's any best bet that you want to give out or more than one. But I think in this matchup, and my models are actually saying this, that Dallas is not going to score more than 2 goals. So backing that up, if Calgary holds them, and they have one of the best defenses in the NHL, they hold Dallas to 2 or fewer goals. Dallas is 4-28, losing 32 units when they score 2 or fewer goals this season. They're 2-9 when they score 2 goals exact this season, and Calgary's 38-5, making 31 units when they allow 2 or fewer goals. When they allow 2 goals exact, they're 36-14 over the last 3 seasons. So I'm going to roll with the Dallas under. I think it's 2.5, Chris.
It's a solid number.
Is it at 2.5 or is it 2?
It's going to be 2. It's going to be 2.5.
I'll take that as my show. Yeah,
you can get the wager right there.
Dallas goals.
Yeah, Dallas is 19-20-2 on the road this season, and that's one of the trends that, other than for a brief blip where they made their quote unquote get into the playoffs run, the overall trend has been for Dallas to lose money for bettors on the road, and at a rather noticeable amount. So if you're looking at it that way, it's a nice way to try and make a little coin while not betting the whole ranch.
Good point. Excellent point. So tell everyone where you're going to go with your money to the window today.
Oh, God, I hope this works. It's Tuesday night. Nashville's playing. Now, for anyone that follows me, God help you, first off. But, all joking aside, I have a love for tacos, much like a certain hockey player does for the Nashville Predators. For those that don't know, Philip Forsberg, his favorite food, I swear to Christmas, is tacos. because that's all the guy talks about. Now, it is Forsberg Tuesday. The guy has an amazing trend for getting points on Tuesdays. It is one of the more bizarre things in the league. It's the opening of the playoffs. You know that Nashville has to get goals. It's the only way they're going to win. I mean, I know, I get it. You have to score to win. But literally, Nashville has to probably keep scoring to have a chance on Tuesday night. Take a look at the anytime goal for Philip Forsberg and take a look to see where his points prop winds up for tonight. That's going to be your 2 key points, and those are my 2 best bets to pick on.
Awesome. Really great stuff. So that'll bring us to the end of our inaugural technologically challenged NHL Power Play show. But Chris and I will be back every day, Monday through Friday, roughly the same time, about 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock. Of course, if there's any changes in the news for a game or change of goalie, we'll do our best to update that in the comments section on the YouTube channel. So make sure you get over to gambling.com. I have the links there on the YouTube notes right in front of you. So it's gambling.com/US/news, gambling.com/CA for Canada/news. And that's where you can find all of Chris's awesome work. He used to be the main beat writer for the New Jersey Devils, by the way. The guy is too humble to admit that he is an expert at this, and I will tell everyone right now that he is an expert that you want to tail for over the long term. Of course he's going to have losing days. I have losing days. I had the Sixers last night. I lost, but I'm still 19-6 on the last 25. That's the whole key. You got to commit to a whole longer-term 30-day horizon, and no better time than now to tail Chris's picks, which you can get for free over at gambling.com. So, Chris, thank you for your time, and until tomorrow, remember 2 things, guys and gals. Always bet with your head and not over it. And may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow.